Welcome inside the RX Muscle Studios for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by, as always, by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com from till the end of the month of June. 44-serve Isolyze, 25% off, only available at speciesnutrition.com. 30-minute question and answer with Dave Palumbo. You can chime in with your questions on the rxmuscle.com Muscle Central Forum, on our Facebook page. You can tweet your questions using the hashtag AskDave, or join us on our Instagram page, official_RxMuscle. And that, we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, how was Australia?
I mate, as they say down there, and a bunch of other interesting sayings. Yeah, I love I love Australia. I'll tell you why. Because they love Americans, number one there. So it's a very big welcoming, and I call it Little America. And they love everything that we do, and they're very thirsty for knowledge there, especially the fitness and bodybuilding world. And so I went down there to do the How to Become a Diet Guru, or the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru seminar, 10 hours. We had 20 people there. It was super motivating. Everyone was looking to learn. I think everyone really had a great experience with it. I lost my voice by the end of the seminar, but it was all worth it. I got some great meals in there. I actually went and saw one of the leading reptile guys in the entire world, basically the number one guy, at least in Australia. We got a great tour of his facility. And on the last day I was there, I actually saw Jurassic World on the largest IMAX theater in the world. This theater was amazing. It was huge, 3D. I wore the glasses and everything, and so I had a lot of fun. It was relaxing. The flight is a little crazy, 24 hours, but I am back now, and we are back with Ask Dave. Can't miss out on one of those weeks.
So you know the drill. Again, you can chime in with your questions, rxmuscle.com, Muscle Central Forum, Facebook page, tweeting using hashtag AskDave, or on our Instagram page, official_RxMuscle. We start on the Muscle Central Forum and check in with Fabian. Hi, Dave. My mother has been having deep sleep issues, so I've told her to take 3 milligrams of melatonin every day before going to bed. This helped, and she sleeps a lot better. Is this something she can continuously take every day or every night?
In fact, she can, and as we age, the pineal gland in the brain, which is the gland that releases melatonin, which actually is what signals to the body it's time to go to sleep at night, kind of shrinks up as we get older. So we don't produce as much melatonin. That's why if you see a lot of 80, 90-year-old people, they go to bed at like 8 o'clock. They wake up at like 4 in the morning. Their day and night cycles are all screwed up, and it's because of a lack of melatonin. Actually, melatonin is great for curing jet lag. When I was in Australia, going back to that, just a week ago, when I got there, that night I went to sleep, I took my 3 Somalize pills, because my Somalize nighttime fat burner and sleep aid actually has 3 milligrams of melatonin, and it also has 2 grams of GABA in there. And GABA is a great relaxation, neurostimulator, or neurotransmitter, I should say. And then the melatonin, it keeps you asleep and gives you a really good night's sleep. So I was taking the Somalize the whole time I was there. Never had jet lag, never had a problem sleeping. And then when I came back, I took it again the first night that I came back, and I had a great night's sleep that night. So it's very safe. It's all natural. It promotes, a good environment of neurotransmitters in your brain. And it basically restores your body. It tells your body, this is sleep, this is night, go to sleep. So I encourage people who have sleep problems, before you go to the doctor and try to get Xanax and Valium and all the other crazy ones that they sell, Ambien, try my Somalize, or just try pure melatonin if you want.
Let's stick with the Muscle Central Forum on rxmuscle.com and check in with Big Mike Cox. Dave, there seems to be a lot of people that dislike Kai Greene's guest posing routines. Personally, I'd rather see him than some guy who hits 4 most poses and walks off stage. Do you think Kai's routines are too over the top?
That's an interesting topic, because Sean Ray had something to say about that, and he thought it was inappropriate, these routines that Kai is doing, and he had a call to arms to all the promoters out there to ban props and not let Kai do these crazy routines. And Chris Aceto and I are going to discuss this on tonight's Heavy Muscle television show, which is, I think, going to broadcast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to really go into what we think about that. But to summarize what my belief is, I believe there's so much creativity lacking in this sport right now. It's so boring to go to a show that, thank God, Kai Greene can do something entertaining. I don't care what he wears. He could do a striptease act. He could wear a horse costume. I don't care, because you know what? It wakes the audience up. People take notice, and it entertains. And you know what? It's not like the guy is doing a terrible routine. He's being creative. He's an artist, and he's being artistic up there. Every time he guest poses, he does something different. It's hard to be original. You got to applaud the guy for that. If we pull out props and we pull out creativity and guest posing, we might as well not even have a show anymore. Why don't you just get rid of the posing routine, and we can just stand up there and do mandatories? I mean, how boring is that? Let's bring the entertainment back to the sport, not eliminate it.
We'll stick with the Muscle Central Forum and go to Gorilla. Dave, the only way to make this show bearable would be to hire Kevin Levrone as the host to add some eclectic flair. All right. Should I include fiber carbs as calories when computing my daily caloric intake while dieting?
No. Fiber doesn't count as carbs because they're, by definition, non-absorbable carbohydrates. So if you don't absorb them, then you're not getting the caloric load from them. So yeah, you deduct fiber when you're computing your macros for the day.
Let's go to Pain Train. Dave, this show makes me wish I overdosed on Somalize only to wake up in a Brazilian ice tub with both kidneys gone and a sign 8x10 from you thanking me for the new kidneys. Is there any benefit to a quick-acting insulin to help pump up before getting on stage?
No, I would not recommend taking any insulin prior to going on stage. And it goes back to a story. I'll tell you a good story. I was dieting this girl down, and she had a lot of trouble losing weight, probably because she cheated a lot on the diet. But anyway, I was starving her basically on no carbs. And the day of the show, I didn't even give her any carbs. And I told her no carbs. And backstage, she figured, well, I'm already here. I'm at the show. I could eat carbs now. And she ate all this fruit before she went on stage, which essentially will do the same thing as taking a shot of insulin. It jacked her blood sugars up, caused her body to release insulin. When she got on stage, she looked like the champ when she was out there. After 5 minutes, her blood sugar crashed and she completely flattened out, and she passed out on stage. So the last thing you want is your blood sugar to crash on stage. So taking insulin before going out there and posing and doing something that requires carbohydrate load, you're asking for big, big trouble. And if you pass out on stage, you're not going to finish the show, number one. That's the worst scenario. The second to worst scenario is that you just look terrible. So once again, I always tell people, don't do crazy, kooky things prior to getting on stage that last week, because all you can do is make mistakes.
We stick with the Muscle Central Forum on rxmuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. Go to rxmuscle.com. Go to the forums, Muscle Central Forum. We go to Go Home. Dave, if Arnold decides to implement the quote-unquote gut rule for next year's Arnold Classic, where he literally gets out the measuring tape and measures the guts of competitors prior to getting on stage, throwing out those who don't meet the required measure, can you become the gut guru and help those competitors get down to where they need to be? Have you come up with a special gut-reducing protocol, or do you think when most competitors reach a certain amount of gut size and distension, they can never shrink it down without significant sacrifice?
I think that a lot of the distension that a lot of these guys get is, number one, due to the fact that they can't go to the bathroom. A lot of bodybuilders get constipated the last couple days when they're carbing up, and that's because they don't take a fiber supplement. The best thing that happened to me when I was competing, because I had a distension problem as well, really bad at some points. Once I discovered fiber, it really solved a lot of my problems. Now, if you have a lot of muscle and you're a big guy, there's always the potential of your stomach hanging out if you don't control it, abdominally speaking. But when you can't even control it because there's so much food in there that's not coming out, then you got to talk fiber supplements. Every single bodybuilder out there, everyone who anyone in the world, but especially competitive bodybuilders and people who get on stage, should be taking a psyllium-based fiber supplement, preferably a psyllium and insoluble fiber supplement, dual fiber supplement, kind of like my Fiberlize. You should be taking 2 doses a day of that continuously throughout your diet prep. And that will keep your stomach flatter, I promise you. You can't just do it the last couple days because it doesn't necessarily always work. You have to be on it continuously. sometimes people have problems when they first start taking a fiber supplement, and they actually get a little crampy and bloated because their colon is weak. So don't just say, okay, I got a show in 2 days, I'm going to start taking fiber now. Take it the entire prep, use it for several weeks. I'm telling you, once you use a good quality fiber supplement like Fiberlife, you'll never not use it for the rest of your life because you'll feel so good. And that will get rid of a lot of the gut distension. Also, cutting back on some of the growth hormone usage prior to the show, at least 2 weeks before, that would, you don't have to eliminate it, but you definitely want to cut it back to under, 4 IUs per day. That will drop down a lot of the distension as well. I find also IGF-1 and insulin will cause a lot of distension. So if you have distension problems, you certainly don't want to take insulin and IGF-1 right before, that week or two before you get on stage. And I think that if a lot of these guys follow these simple protocols, they could control that. I think a lot of guys are just lazy and they don't care. They figure, well, I got a lot of muscle, it doesn't matter. But, I don't know what the judging criteria will be for next year, but there's a good indication that probably the judges will judge a little more harshly because of the words that Arnold uttered.
Let's go to now our Facebook page. Again, if you want to check out our official Facebook page, it is facebook.com/rxmuscle.com, all one word. And we go to Peter Cowdell. Dave, I'd rather drink from my half-full shaker left in the boot of my car for weeks than listen to any more of this drivel. Was Andreas Munzer the first of a now long line of bodybuilders to die from over-abuse of PEDs?
Well, I don't necessarily know if Andreas Munzer died of steroids. More than likely, he died of dehydration, from what I understand. Same thing with Mohammed Benaziza. These guys were real extremists. They would do 6 shows in a row, sometimes 2-3 shows a week when they would do the European tour. And that's usually when these guys would really suffer the most because they would be on diuretics continuously. And, bodybuilders think more is better. And I think that that's a big problem when you talk about diuretics. Steroids don't kill you in the long run. They'll kill you in the short run. They might kill you in the long run, but they're not going to kill you in the short run. Someone who dies on a stage or, right after they off a bodybuilding stage, it's usually due to dehydration or electrolyte imbalance. And that's usually just due to being ignorant, to not understanding how the body works. I constantly, time and time again, try to educate people about sodium, potassium, what diuretics are the right ones to use, so that you know what you're depleting and you know how to replace it. Because most of my competitors, very few people ever cramp, but when they do, it's an easy fix because I always know it's a sodium depletion. We give them a little salt, and the problem is solved. Most diet gurus out there, or most people who do their own prep, they have no idea what diuretics, deplete what electrolyte, whether they deplete water, sodium, potassium. And so when things go wrong, they start taking everything. And that makes the problem worse a lot of times. So, I don't think we have seen in the history of bodybuilding a ton of bodybuilders dying at shows, which thank God, that's good, But, the guys that are extremists, those are the guys that are in danger. If you're going to do things, make sure you educate yourself, learn the science of what you're doing. And I think that's why the seminar I gave this past weekend in Australia, the one I gave in New York about a month ago, was so important and so popular because people realize, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. I got to learn the science of this from someone who knows, someone like Dave. And then, I'll feel more comfortable doing the things I'm doing because I'll know why I'm doing them.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm your host, Steve Faruqi. Glad you can join us on RxMuscle.com. Go to our Twitter feed. Again, if you want to tweet your questions, use the hashtag AskDave. And we go to Scott Bernal 93. Show is awful. Would rather see George Farah steal clients backstage. When will we see more Life of Dave videos on RxMuscle.com?
Well, everyone's complaining. They don't want to see any more reptile videos. I see people complaining on the forums all the time that they don't want to hear about my rep. That's part of my life now. No, I don't care what people think. I have a road trip Australia that I just did from this past weekend. I'm editing the thing down. You'll see more of that. It's hard to do because you know what? This is what happens. Usually the lifestyle videos we shoot are on my days off from this, which is very rarely ever a day off. But and then I get yelled at because I'm working on my off day. So Sometimes it's hard. If I had a camera crew following me around in the office all day, believe me, you guys would laugh your ass off because we have more drama here than any place. Someone came to me today and said, hey, do you think a reality show about bikini competitors would go well? People would be well received. I think they would be great. All the competitors seem to think it's a great idea, but the producers of the show think it's boring. It is boring because no one wants to watch people train, eat, and sleep. That's boring. You come to my office for 48 hours and watch what goes on here with TV shows and people coming in and people complaining and all the nutcases that come in here and pose for me. You'd find that entertaining, believe me, because we have a lot of fun and craziness that goes on in this warehouse. So it goes back to, people like to watch and see what we do on a regular basis behind the scenes. And you know what? Like I said, I really wish we had a camera crew here, but for that, because we don't, you're going to have to take the small videos I put up every once in a while, and I'll do as much as we can because I do know that the audience and the fans love it.
Let's go now to our livestream.com live chat box for those watching us directly on livestream.com, and we go to Mr. O. I hate this show so much. I'd rather put George Farah's Pinocchio's nose up my butt than ask him if he was a cop. A lot of George Farah jokes here. Once again, for those of you who may just be watching for the first time, just joining us, the best I hate this show, or the best I'd rather be doing this than watching the show, will get a free Species Nitrolyze pre-workout. For the best overall question, so you come up with the best question, the most relevant question, the question that may apply to everyone watching, you get a Species gym bag as well as a Nitrolyze. Let's go to Mr. O. So again, we had the George Farah reference. Is PEG1 good to use before stepping on stage to inflame the muscle?
Well, I'm going to go back to the same answer I gave, a couple minutes ago. Don't do wacky, kooky things before going on stage. The only thing you can do is screw yourself up. If you don't look good before you get on stage, taking something like that is not going to make you look better. It's only going to make you look worse. So don't do anything kooky before going on stage. PGF2 is just going to make you feel like you have the flu. I don't know if you've ever taken it, but it makes you feel like you have the flu. It is a prostaglandin. It is the same prostaglandin your body releases when you have the flu. So you will feel like you have the flu for probably anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half. So if you want to feel like you have the flu while you're on stage and you think that's going to make you look better, go for it. It'll also make you poop your pants. So not a good product to take before you go on stage. And by the way, it's not good for muscle building either, or fat burning for that matter. People thought it was good for fat burning because it would make you poop so much that they would dehydrate you, but it doesn't burn fat.
We stick with the live stream, live chat box, and go to Tom Ramsey. Dave, when getting routine blood work, is there any supplements or drugs that shouldn't be taken before, example, no T3, before, as it could affect thyroid results?
Well, I mean, if you're on a cycle and you're taking testosterone, and like you said, you're taking thyroid and other hormones, it's going to throw the results off. I usually have most of the guys go for blood work when they're done with the contest and they've come off all the PEDs and the performance supplements. This way we can get a baseline level and see where they're at. Usually actually I tell them to wait about 4 weeks to clean out a little bit first. So, if you want to just get your kidney function, liver function, and maybe blood work done, CBC, complete blood count done, that you can do while you're on cycle. But other than that, I would probably wait to check hormone levels when you're completely, drug-free.
We stay with the livestream.com live chat box and check in with Brian. Dave, what's the real difference between Chris Clark's synthol and painless pumps?
Well, let me first preface by saying, during my guru seminar this past weekend, I actually explained what synthol was and why there are only some brands that actually do something and the other ones that really don't do something. People assume that these site injection oils are just neutral oils or what we call medium chain oils, non-immunoreactive. That means that if you use like a mineral oil, for instance, that's called an immunoreactive oil. That means your immune system would attack it as a foreign body. When you build up tons of scar tissue, you'd feel terrible after injecting it. You don't want to use oils like that. So most people think if you use a neutral MCT oil, that's the same thing. It doesn't matter. It's just a sterile oil you're injecting into your arm or wherever you happen to be injecting it. That's not the case. true synthol formulations like Chris Clark's original synthesized pump and pose contain stuff other than just oil. They contain protein carriers and some enzymes that help break down these oils. When you put them or inject them into the muscle, what happens is the body's muscle cells release enzymes that go out and break down these hormones and then break down these fats and then absorb the fats locally. It causes a local feeding response or hypernutritional response in the muscle, which actually creates an anabolic environment for the muscle. So just by injecting the oil, you don't just get the volumization of the muscle, you also get a muscle building that happens there. So the longer you use the product, the more local muscle that you'll build. Even without weight training, they've seen this phenomenon. Now, Chris Clark's product does that. Also, the Painless Pumps product does this as well. The advantage of the Painless Pumps product is that it doesn't hurt, because what the Painless Pumps formulation does, it has electrolytes in it also. So when the muscles send out these enzymes and they become dehydrated, which usually results in prostaglandin release and pain, the Painless Pumps electrolytes enter the muscle cell, rehydrating it, preventing the prostaglandin reaction, which is the reaction that causes the pain. So Painless Pumps doesn't hurt. The Chris Clark's synthesized formulation, however, is a little stronger from what I've witnessed. You tend to get a little bit more swelling, a little bit more muscle growth, but the Painless Pumps makes it a very appealing product because it doesn't hurt. I sell both of those products at DavePalumbo.com because I know those are the only two products that have the science in it. The other products are just merely sterile oil. So I personally would never recommend using those for that very reason.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Once again, 44-serve Isolize available for 25% off only through the end of this month and only on SpeciesNutrition.com. Again, for the best I Hate This Show, you get a free Species Nitrolyze pre-workout. For the best overall question, you get that as well as a Species gym bag. We now go to our Instagram page, official_RxMuscle, if you want to join in. We go to Jason Built. Hey Dave, I hate your show more than me wasting money on crappy supplements instead of buying Species Nutrition. Good man. While on a keto diet for weight loss, is it okay to use Carbolize, Isolize shake post-workout?
Well, if you're in a ketogenic diet, that means that your brain is using fat for fuel as opposed to carbohydrates. If you take a post-workout shake that contains carbohydrates, especially like a 40-gram load like you'd get from a serving of Carbolize, you're going to take yourself out of ketosis. It's like giving, and I've used this analogy a million times, it's like giving a heroin addict a little bit of heroin every day. Just once a day, you give yourself a little bit of heroin. You're never going to be off the heroin. You're going to be addicted to it still. So your brain, if you give it a little bit of carbs every day, especially in a quick bolus, charge of carbs, your brain's going to start using that for fuel again. It's going to stop using fats. So if you want to be in a strong ketogenic state, you got to get carbs out of the diet, all the direct starchy carbs, and keep indirect, carbs under 50 a day. That usually works, which is pretty easy to do if you're not eating any direct sources. However, I will diet people where I give them some days that they have carbs. On the days that they don't have the carbs, they'll be in a weak ketosis, but not a strong ketosis. They won't be in a strong ketogenic state until the carbs are removed completely from the diet, doing it almost every day, no carbs. However, once again, it doesn't always warrant that you remove all the carbs, because some people will lose weight on the protein, fat, with the carbs approach, and that's how I usually start people out. And then as they progress, I might pull days out where I take some carbs out some days, and then eventually I might pull them all out. So once again, that's where the coaching comes in, understanding how to modify and influence the diet so that the person gets the best results possible.
We have another question about Species products. Dave, how do you get cinnamon donut Isolize to taste exactly like cinnamon donut?
A lot of terrible insults towards your flavoring guy. I've had more fights with my flavoring guy than probably in the history of this guy's ever had with anyone, because I am brutally honest. If I don't like the way something tastes or it doesn't taste like I want it to, I tell him it's terrible. I don't know how to temper my feelings. In other words, I don't say, well, it's kind of, if I don't like something, I'm like, it's terrible. But the good thing about me is I could tell you why it's terrible. It doesn't taste like this, or it doesn't have enough of an aftertaste, or the aftertaste is too strong, or it's too chemically tasting. The key with flavors is don't try to be too strong with your flavors. You're better off with a little bit of a low-key flavor, because once you go too strong with an artificial flavoring system, you can taste the chemicals in there. You don't want to do that. You want to go very subtle. The funny thing about cinnamon donut was I was originally trying to do an oatmeal raisin cookie flavor, and I just realized, you know what, this tastes like a cinnamon donut. And that's how we got cinnamon donut, truth be told. I knew cinnamon would be good because people who like cinnamon, they go crazy for it. If you don't like cinnamon, you won't like cinnamon donut. But I guess a lot of people like it, Sid, because I think we're sold out of our smaller size. I think we still have the 3.1. So if you go on the website and you get the 25% off discount, you'll be lucky because not many people have cinnamon donut anymore. It sells out so fast I can't even produce it quick enough.
We go back to our live stream, live chat box, and check in with Chris McCleary. And this could be a good candidate right here for I Hate. Dave, my friend suggested I watch your show. Needless to say, I think he must hate me. Very good. It's clever. I like that. So it's a different one. I'm new to the area and looking for a bodybuilding sympathetic physician. Any suggestions on how to find one?
Well, I don't know. When he says new to the area, I'm assuming he means New York. And if he means New York, you got to go to Dr. Sal. Dr. Sal Trezera in Farmingdale is my cardiologist, but he also is a sports medicine physician. He does hormone replacement therapy. He'll be the guy to read your blood work properly and get you on the right path. You can look him up. He's got a website, and he's, like I said, he's a bodybuilder himself and very bodybuilder friendly.
Let's go back to our Instagram page, Hoodman521. Hey Dave, your show is as bad as Chris Aceto's dress George caught him in at the gay bar. The George Farah jokes. Wow. Why is it important to have a cheat day on the keto diet? If you eat 6 to 8 meals a day and did cardio, would that not be enough to keep your metabolism from bottoming out?
Well, first of all, it's not a cheat day. It's a cheat meal. The reason we do this is because on a ketogenic approach especially, and this happens with any kind of diet, if you're doing the same thing every day, what happens is your body starts catching on to what you're doing. The way the body catches on with the ketogenic approach is that without insulin being released, because on a ketogenic diet, insulin is very low, which is good for fat burning because insulin is a fat storage hormone. But it's not good for thyroid hormone. Thyroid, I've repeated this probably a million times, I'm going to say it again. When your body releases thyroxine or T4 from the thyroid gland, that's an inactive thyroid hormone. That must convert to active thyroid hormone, also known as T3 or triiodothyronine. The T3 is what actually moves your metabolism. The conversion of T4 to T3 is dependent on insulin. If insulin is low, T4 to T3 conversion slows down, which slows your metabolic rate. So in order to trick your body, by having a cheat meal once a week with a high carb load, you'll release insulin, and that insulin will then signal T4 to start converting to T3. What it basically tells your body is there's nothing wrong, there's no diet, don't shut down anything, and it keeps your body guessing. So, and I found from my experience that if you do that once every 7 days, it's not enough to sabotage the diet, and it's enough to keep your metabolic rate moving at optimal amounts.
Let's go to Big O Fitness. Dave, I'd rather have George Farah place me under fake arrest while me and Chris Aceto watch Kyle Greene perform the grapefruit video than watch your show. We have a winner.
That might be a winner.
My question is, could having things such as water flavor enhancer and Splenda coffee and things like sugar-free gum keep a person from achieving their best condition for a show?
Well, I don't think diet sodas are going to screw you up, and I don't think some of these diet drinks are going to screw you up. But chewing sugar-free gum will, because sugar-free gum is not carbohydrate-free. Matter of fact, each piece of sugar-free gum usually contains 2 grams of carbs. So if you ate 20 pieces a day, that's 40 grams of carbs. That could sabotage your diet, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're on a ketogenic diet. So you got to be careful of hidden carbohydrates. A lot of people ask me, hey, can I use sugar-free ketchup? Yeah, well, it's sugar-free, but it's still not carb-free because ketchup is a tomato, and tomatoes have carbs in them. So you got to be very careful as to what you think is free calories and what's not. The diet sodas and the diet drinks are usually okay, assuming that they don't have any like maltodextrin or any carbohydrate sources in them. Just because it says sugar-free doesn't mean it's carb-free. Let's
go to Douglas Bodybuilding. Dave, Do you have any good tips to avoid water retention from long flights if I'm close to a bodybuilding show and don't want to look bloated on stage?
Well, the longer the flight, the more likely you are to hold fluid. The key is to move. First of all, get your shoes off. The second you get on the plane, my shoes come right off. Take your shoes off. Every 45 minutes or so, you should get up and walk around and do some calf presses on your calves. Get that. What happens is the fluid accumulates in your lower legs. If you move the muscles and they milk those veins, you'll get that blood flow and you'll get that fluid out quicker. Usually, if you're doing a show and you're on diuretics, the flying doesn't really affect you as much because the diuretics flush that extra water out. I don't usually ever hold water in my ankles, but after flying for 24 hours back and forth to Australia, my legs were a little ankle bloated when I got off the plane. But I probably was sleeping about 23 of the 24 hours, so I didn't really get up too much. But if you're doing a show, like I said, most people don't fly tremendous amounts of distance. If you are, get up a lot, move around, get those shoes off. And you know what? You could also try compression stockings. Really work well if you tend to be water retentive.
Take a couple of questions here. These two that I'm seeing on the Instagram feed, just for a reminder, for those that are fasting during Ramadan, Dave did a video. It is live right now on the speciesnutrition.com website. We will have it live on rsmuscle.com as well. That one for Larby McKell. This one from Zane Flashy in regard to Ramadan. He asks Dave, is it okay to have a meal with about 80 grams of protein in it at once, and then another about 2 hours later, because in the UK, we only have 5 hours to eat?
I wonder why they only have 5 hours to eat in the UK, where they have less...
It's the more east you go, I guess,
well, I don't know about that. I think that they're... you got to watch the Ramadan video. I mapped it all out, exactly how you should eat. Food, shakes, protein pudding, all that stuff. You can't jam your 2 meals in a day and expect to get all your nutrition. You might have to wake up in the middle of the night and have a shake, or you might have to get up an hour earlier before the sun gets up to have your breakfast, but it can be done. Watch the video. I promise you. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing here. I went through it pretty aggressively and try to get some tips off of there and make it work. I've worked with many bodybuilders who've gotten through Ramadan without a problem. It's just going to take planning on your part.
Final question on the live stream, live chat box from Rodney. Oh, the George Farrow ones continue to roll in. I hate this show so much I would rather do Zumba naked with Chris Aceto and George Farrow as the instructor. What is normal testosterone level for mid-30s male, and is cycling TRT good if I want kids?
First off, I guess normal testosterone is anywhere from 250 to 850, So for a 30-year-old man, I would like to see you over 600, over 650. If you're under that, that's a little on the lower side. If you do TRT, cycling TRT is really a stupid statement, because testosterone replacement therapy should be done continuously. Now, if you decide you want to have kids, you got to stop it. And when you stop it, you should probably take HCG and Clomid. And if you really want to be, aggressive, you might want to throw HMG in there as well. Usually I recommend 2,000 units of HCG every other day, 75 units of HMG every other day, with 50 to 100 milligrams of Clomid per day. That usually that works like a charm. You do that, I guarantee in 2 months you'll get your girl pregnant. So I wouldn't worry about it if you're on TRT right now. When the time comes that you want to get the person pregnant, just follow my pregnancy protocol. It'll work fine.
All right, so we now go to the best I hate, and I think we have a couple of finalists here. The first one from Chris McCleary. Dave, my friend, suggested I watch your show. Needless to say, I think he must hate me. That's one. And then the other one from Big O Fitness. Dave, I'd rather have George Farrow place me under fake arrest while me and Chris Aceto watch Kai Greene perform the grapefruit video, then watch your show. What say you?
What was that? The last one was pretty good, too.
Yeah.
What was that last one I hate? The Zumba class.
The Zumba, all right, so I would rather do Zumba naked with Chris Aceto and George Farrow as the instructor. So that's the third candidate right there.
I think the second one was the best one. Yeah.
All right, so it looks as if Big O Fitness, we will be in touch with you, and you're going to win free Species Nitrolyze. We had a really good question. I may have deleted it here.
while you're looking, Sid, I just want to announce once again, tonight at 6:30 p.m., Heavy Muscle TV, Chris Aceto will be Skyping in to do a 15-minute segment with me on the analysis of the upcoming Dallas Europa Super Show, as well as comment on what Sean Ray had said about promoters banning Kai Greene from doing these crazy routines that he does. We also will have, I believe, Tracy Hess, Women's Physique Pro, will be in the studio. Dominic Mutasio will be here. And as well, we will have, I think, a taped interview with Sarah LeBlanc, who will be competing at the IFBB Greater Gulf States this weekend, trying to win that bikini title. So it's going to be a great show. I'm excited. Sid, have you come up with the best question of the day?
I do, yeah. So I'm going to give it to Go Home on the RxMuscle.com Muscle Central Forum. And the question was pertaining to the gut rule. And whether or not, if Arnold were to implement the gut rule, essentially do a gut check backstage before a show and rule out competitors based off that. And then the part B to that, if that were to be a rule, if you would have a protocol as to eliminate or to reduce.
And I did have a protocol, which is amazing. I didn't think I had one, but I came up with one.
Go Home from the RxMuscle.com Muscle Central Forum. We will be in touch with you to send you a gym bag, as well as Nitrolyze from SpeciesNutrition.com. That is going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. As Dave said, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, RxMuscle.com, Heavy Muscle TV. We're going to have an interview with Sarah LeBlanc. Tracy Hess going to be live in studio. Dom Mutasio and Dave and Chris are going to talk about the controversy surrounding the statements made by Sean Ray about Kai Greene's posing and whether or not it's too over the top or whether or not this is what the bodybuilding world needs. So next week, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. Have a good one.